We are doing a virtual podcast today with my boy, Mr. Tyler Gillum.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I grew up in Ada, Oklahoma, small town kid. My dad was a bull rider, and so he wanted me to be a bull rider. And there's a quote that we use a lot in Banana Land. It's, do for one that you wish you could do for many.
By you highlighting these positive moments, you're reinforcing within your culture and your organization of what you're striving for.
Just figure out how you can impact the next person, right? Later on that year, I had a coach tell me, if you figure out how to get everybody else what they want, eventually you'll get what you want. I got a phone call in February of 2018. He said, "Hey, Gillum, I got a crazy idea." I said, "Sweet, let me hear it." He said, "What do you think about playing in kilts?"
This is the Unleash Your Purpose podcast.
All right, welcome to Unleash Your Purpose podcast with your host, Ryan Centers. We are doing a virtual podcast today with my boy, Mr. Tyler Gillum. I am wearing my hat right now because I feel the honor to be in your presence. The last time before we hung out, if you remember, we were wearing our cap and gowns together. We were professors at the same community college. We were at graduation, but then this last time we hung out was this last weekend, and you were in cowboy boots and wearing bright yellow.
That's right, baby. Banana ball game, Mesa, Arizona. You guys came out. You guys were the Bananas foster family of the night, and we were so pumped to have you and the family there and have a blast and go bananas with us.
Holy smokes. My kids have been talking about it for 5 days straight. My oldest daughter, who's 25, no joke, knows nothing about baseball, but says she dreamt about it all the next day. I think it was the guys dancing. But it was the highlight of our life. And you guys, like, for those who are watching us today, like, if you have not been to a Savannah Bananas game, you are missing out on all things life. You have taken, like, the game of baseball and you put on a really good game, but you entertain the crowd like nobody's business. And the fans, we felt like family the entire time through that whole experience.
Well, that's what we want to do, man, is create this family experience where it's happiness and joy through the platform of Banana Ball. And you guys got to experience that firsthand. We've had multiple people come to our games and say, this is the funnest, greatest entertainment that we've ever had at a sporting event. ESPN called us the greatest show in sports, but really it doesn't matter if you're 6 or 66, there's something for everybody, and it's fun, and we're having a fun time building it and creating more fans.
Yeah. I mean, when we had a cool opportunity. We went down on the field and you all circled around us and we're sitting in the dugout, and I was talking to the owner in the dugout, and I was just saying, like, you have redefined this sport. You are like creating a brand new category. I mean, you got a guy on stilts hitting, like, running the bases. You opened it up with babies crawling. I mean, doing a race. It's like, and then my daughter, who's 4 years old, loves it that you have a princess doing a solo, all in between, like, going through an inning. So.
Yeah, man, what we tried to do back in 2018 is just look at the game of baseball and see where we can make it more entertaining and faster and bring everybody to the game. And so we try to do that in Banana Land. If you come to our games in Banana Land in Savannah, Georgia, it's the general admission ticket is all you can eat. So you come in and you get hamburgers, hot dogs, popcorn, soda, and then it's open seating. So if you get there early, you can sit wherever you want. And then every single person that comes to the game, they can look around and they can identify or connect with somebody that looks like them, acts like them, or people that love singing or dancing or juggling or on stilts.
Yeah.
So we've tried to create this cool environment that there's something for everybody. Yeah. And it's just entertainment nonstop.
I mean, even in the beginning, so we were the VIBs, very important bananas. We roll in, you gave us jerseys, we got to get signatures, we get our seats, and then they open up the gates, and people are flooding in, fully dressed out in banana gear, or just kind of going nuts, dude. And it was, I've never had to not fight for a seat, but like hold their seats back, because within seconds, it's just like a mass of people, and they've been like waiting for this game for probably 3-4 months. I mean, every game is sold out. How's it been?
So we've got 2 million people on our wait list, and like some people in Mesa, they actually said we've been trying to get tickets for 2 years, and we finally were able to get tickets, and You talked about the opening there at 5:30. So we greet our fans and say, welcome to the game. And then we do our traditional, hey baby dance. And then we open the gates and let people in. And I don't think anybody else is doing that in sports. And that's something that we really looked at and said, we want to thank every single person that comes to these games, because if it wasn't for the fans, then we wouldn't be here. And our company is called Fans First Entertainment. So everything we do filters through the question, is this fans first? And it's definitely fans first to greet all your fans, welcome them in and say, hey, thanks for coming to the show and let's get this thing started.
Yeah, and then as you guys are thinking about your fans, I mean, you could tell that you love your team and your staff so well, and as you're taking care of them, they know that they can now treat the fans like their family while they're there.
Yeah, I think that's important. We say fans first, but we're also a big family, and we're taking care of everybody, inside the organization and trying to do it as first class as much as possible. And that all starts with Jesse and Emily Cole, our owners. And I say Emily is the heartbeat of the Bananas. And literally, I've watched her since I've been with the Bananas 2018, pick up trash, cook hot dogs and hamburgers, remember everybody's birthdays, send them, gifts for, somebody having a kid or somebody having an anniversary. I've literally watched her take care of people. And then her dream was creating Bananas Foster. And now she's bringing more people to the ballpark and educating everybody on the foster system and encouraging people to get into foster care to help tons of kids that need it. I think the statistic that she uses is there's 400,000 kids in foster care, and there's more that need it. That's and, right. It's cool watching Emily start that from a long time ago of her dream of creating families and bringing them together. And now we have this platform of Banana Ball to be able to do that.
Dude. Yeah. And I was at I'm at my house right now, and my youngest daughter, who's 4 years old, stayed home from school, but she's opening the book that Emily gave her. She's literally sitting on the couch right now in my living room. I mean, the attention to detail and like the little things. So like we go and get our seat, and there's the foster family at the last game. You get a book and you write a personalized note to that foster family. And then we got that book from that game ahead of us. And then we wrote a note for the next family coming to the next game. Like that is something that is so genuine and cool, that is like something that my wife will not forget, but then also like now my kids get to hang out and have every day. So that was really, really a special thing. So you're
well, one thing that we say, man, I'll touch on that, Ryan, is there's a quote that we use a lot in Banana Land. It's do for one that you wish you could do for many. And, we get caught up and go, man, I wish we could do this big thing, right? But if you just focus on one person, and what we try to do inside the organization is tell those stories of just focus on one person. And if you can focus on one person and create a never forget moment for that person, each game, there's going to be a ripple effect of that.
That's right.
And right now we travel 120 to 150 people to games. When we play in major league stadiums, it's actually 200 people. And if you have that many people with the sole focus of being fans first and try to create a never forget moment and just focusing on one fan each single night, then you're going to have these moments that they kind of blossom over time, and it becomes a ripple effect. And that's just one of those things that we've done is like, hey, you're going to be able to be connected to the next foster family that was a part of our show. And it's all about bringing people together. And so it's cool.
Yeah, that's a good word. That's a really good word. Because you're like, I think you guys have a huge footprint. You are impacting so many people. I have a large organization, and I've been doing it probably for a decade and a half. And so it's easy as you've been doing something for a long time, you can kind of overlook like the one. And you can kind of just get tired. But having that kind of do for one, which you wish you could do for many kind of mindset, that kind of really makes it real. And then you realize, wow, when you're doing that, it humanizes it and you experience so much joy. And at least puts me back to like, oh, I remember why I got in this versus I'm just kind of going through the motions. Like when
that's it, man.
When you're giving that flower to that one kid in there,
It's a game changer. It really is. And, I tell you what, all companies go through this. When you are in the daily grind of being an entrepreneur, of owning businesses, you've got all of these problems that you're trying to solve, and you've got all these people that you're trying to please. And sometimes you get lost in the sauce a little bit and you forget like, hey, we got to take care of these people and you need to be intentional about it. And one thing I think that allows us to really focus and be intentional and be where our feet are every day is the stories. The ability to storytell every single day about the never forget moments and the fans first moments that we've created and uplift the people inside of our organization by highlighting them through their stories. And so every city that we go to, Ryan, game one, we meet at 1 p.m. in the stadium. We get our entire group together and we say, hey, this is a new stadium. Here's some stories that happened last week. And we highlight people in our organization that created fans first moments.
Oh, that's great.
And those are a ripple effect of trying to get the next person or the game day staff that they might only be working for us for one day, but they hear that story of, hey, this is who we are. This is our culture. And it's all about creating a never forget moment for one single fan that you wish you could do for many. And that allows them to kind of have freedom of like, hey, this is who we are. And I'm going to go search for that moment to really impact one fan.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's so good. And by you highlighting these positive moments, you're reinforcing within your culture and your organization of what you're striving for. Like you're continuing. So then people are hungry for it and searching for it for themselves. I think so often as leaders that we can kind of get stuck on what's going wrong and especially like, and what do we need to fix? And I know my mindset is like, I'm just a high D drive. And I can I can overstep the celebrations and the wins. Well, of course we're doing well, but we can do better. But a leader like needs to be able to do what you're saying there is celebrate the wins and find those moments. And that's what story is what transcends culture. 100%.
No doubt. And you hit that on the nose. I think this is what I learned in my coaching career. So I coached college baseball for 13 years. And what I learned early in my younger years is I was always just finding the negatives and like trying to correct the negatives and like calling out everybody that was like making an error or striking out or walking somebody, and what I realized is I need to focus those areas a little bit more one-on-one versus I need to celebrate in the crowd. So criticize one-on-one, right? Or correct one-on-one, and then do more of the coaching and celebrating in a group and highlight, because we all want those highlights. We all want those celebrations, those pats on the back. And if we can do that in a group, everybody else is going to be like, oh, that's something they really like. I'm going to try to do something so I can get highlighted in the group too.
Yeah,
and so like, it's just a different in the coaching philosophy or the leadership philosophy that I think definitely works.
Is that even leadership? Like I watch some people and they're like correcting someone in public and it's almost like humiliation. I mean, that's actually not leading. Like you need to correct in private, celebrate in public. But I don't know if that mindset is universal. Like when like in the organization that's like a same thing. We're always doing that. But then I watch someone else get called out, or I have my son, they play club soccer and their coach is like sarcastic and like kind of mocking the kids. And these are teenagers, 14, 15-year-old kids. Their identity is forming and you can kind of riff with each other a little bit. But like when you're on the field and the coach is being sarcastic, when he makes a bad pass, oh, good pass there. Like, how is that building up a kid right then? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, and like, not everybody's built to lead or coach and like nobody's perfect either. So like, I think any coach that's been through it and coached for 30, 40 years or however long, like they've been through those moments and they figured out, you know what, that wasn't the best way to lead or the best way to coach. And I need to turn my dial and I need to recorrect myself too. I think we're all still kind of, we're all like clay. We're still getting molded to what our best quality self is. Right. And so like, I'm still adapting. I'm not perfect. But the biggest thing is like, it's all about loving the people that you're around and creating those relationships. And in the coaching world, if you coach the person first and the player second, that's where it starts.
Okay.
A lot of coaches try to go into coaching the player first. And hey, this is how you field a ground ball or pitch or hit or whatever the situation is. And what gets lost in that when tough times kind of hit and you have to have really serious conversations, is the player says, I don't know anything about this coach and this coach doesn't know anything about me. So I'm not going to really listen to him. So something that we use often in the coaching world is the first couple weeks, I just want our coaches to get to know who they are, get to know the players, who they are as people, what's their goals, who's their family, who's their girlfriend, who is, where'd they go to college at, what food do they like, you figure out who they are, and then you can figure out how to help them as a player. And I think that's really important.
That's good. That's right on. It's like that whole, what I teach is like a servant leadership model. So if you're going to lead your staff and lead a team, you got to know your people and you got to have a depth of relationship there. Nothing irks my soul more when I'm going to meet with a direct report with me and I know more about their staff than they know about themselves. Like I know that they're having marriage issues and stuff, or they just celebrated a big win and they don't know nothing. The boss doesn't know anything about them. I'm like, no, your job is to care for your people and get to know them. And then guess what? They're going to want to perform better. They're going to be able to take it to the next level. You're in major league stadiums, right? Oh, go ahead.
What's that? No. What'd you say?
Well, I was like, I just heard you were just in major league. I mean, did you ever think you had this baseball career? You were a bull rider at eight years old. Now you're coaching sold out stadiums, major league stadiums.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I grew up in Ada, Oklahoma, small town kid. My dad was a bull rider, and so he wanted me to be a bull rider. And the story is we went to the movies when I was 8 years old, and we went and watched a movie called 8 Seconds, the story about Lane Frost, who's one of the best bull riders of all time. And at the end of that movie, Lane dies in the rodeo arena. He gets horned by a bull and punctures his lung and ends up passing away. And at 8 years old, I looked over at my dad. My dad's crying, and I never saw my dad cry before. That was the first time in my life I ever saw my dad cry. And I looked over and was like, man, he's crying. I don't know what's going on. Lane Frost is passing away in this movie, and I'm watching him bull ride. And in that moment, I decided I'd rather get hit by a 90-mile-an-hour fastball than get horned by a bull. So my dad's dream of me becoming a bull rider ended pretty quick. And I started going to baseball practice a lot more than rodeos. But I grew up on a ranch. My grandparents own a small ranch called the Gillum 66 Ranch. And so when you came to the game, if you remember what number I was wearing, I was wearing number 66. And that's because I always believe you should never forget where you come from and, where your roots are. And I grew up on that ranch, which was very simple and small in a lot of ways, but it was all about caring for people and, chasing your dreams like my grandpa did of starting some of his businesses, and my grandma being a pastor in a church, and she built a church camp in Kenya, Africa over 25 years, and so it was all about servant leadership. And I watched my grandma and grandpa do that over the years. And I think that led into the Bananas. But to take you back to the story of bull riding, that's where that's why I wear boots on the field every single game. But that's the roots of my dad, and that's who I am, and I love that piece of it. But I started wearing boots in 2019 on the field with the Bananas, and that was my stick. That's my part of the show. This is who I am. And at that time, nobody had ever seen boots on a field before. And at that time, it was just summer collegiate baseball. We weren't even banana ball yet. And people were looking at me like, what is going on? But it fits right into Bananas. Like our number one motto that I heard, the number one quote that I heard, the first quote that I heard when I took the job with the Bananas is, whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. Hey. So we've been doing that for a long time, and it's worked out for us.
That is so good. I just got my first pair of cowboy boots because we are getting a ranch. And man, dude, it's like kind of like Birkenstocks. Once you start wearing Birkenstocks, you're getting old. But now he's got these cowboy boots, man. I might never look back.
You might have those New Balance white old man shoes. You probably got those
with arch support. Yeah. It's very functional. I literally was going to the ranch yesterday, and I was like, I asked her, I'm like, can I wear these my running shoes? She's like, no, you look like a dumbass. So you're not gonna do it.
Yeah, those boots, man. Like, you just got to learn the two-step now. We got to teach you the two-step, bro.
Yep, I feel you. One of the things I loved is that when we worked together at the college, you had created such a awesome culture within the baseball team, but you always have known that you always wanted to be a coach. Like, this is pretty unique. Like, this is not just a short thing, and you kind of had a clarity of like a vision of your life, and you're probably one of the most dialed in leaders and guys I've ever met that had a vision, and you're like tenacious about it, and you put yourself in the right place at the right time for that next like space. And I think that's not, I mean, people want to do that, but I don't think it's normal.
Yeah, man. Like, I got lucky. I was around some great people that led me to the game of baseball and that really kept me out of trouble. And so kind of the background story is my cousin that I looked up to the most, his name's Chris Offord, huge baseball player. He's about 10 years older than me, and I grew up watching his high school team play. Mm-hmm. And in high school, they won 4 state championships. And so I always grew up being like, dude, I want to win state championships just like my cousin Chris. And so as I got into high school, I played at the same high school as he did for the same high school coach. Our high school coach's name is Eddie Collins. And my dream was to beat my cousin Chris's record of 4 state championships. And so in high school, I played with some great players. I was lucky to be around some great players that were very competitive and tough and hard-nosed. And we ended up winning 4 state championships too. And I always said I got into my coaching because of our head coach, Eddie Collins. In 2021, he became the nation's winningest high school baseball coach with over 2,116 wins. It's a lot of wins. And a lot of times I tell people is Coach Collins taught me a lot more about life than he did about the game of baseball. And he knows a lot about the game of baseball. And so
that's cool.
He really kept me on the straight and narrow going through high school. You know, I had some family troubles with alcohol and drugs, and I had a lot of cousins in and out of jail, and some best friends throughout high school and college that struggled with drugs and alcohol. I could have easily went down that path, but the baseball field was always my getaway. Like, no matter what happened in my life, going to the baseball field, practicing, playing, and falling in love with dogpiling and winning state championships really steered me to the direction of, man, I owe the game of baseball and I owe Coach Collins, and Coach Collins changed my life, and I want to be able to give back and do that for players too as well, and be able to, change other players' lives. So I've always knew I was going to coach since I was a sophomore in high school.
And I bet you, like, Coach Collins, is he still around?
Yeah, he's still around.
Does he know, like, the lives that now you're impacting because of the investment he did in you?
Yeah,
has he been to a game?
Kind of crazy story. So last year on our 33 city world tour that we went on, we played in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And Oklahoma City is a AAA ballpark. It holds about 12,000 people. And man, I literally think we played there 2 nights, and I think half the people, probably 15,000 people, were my friends and family that I grew up in my small little town of Ada, Oklahoma, and Coach Collins was one of those people. And
that's so good.
He got to watch Banana Ball for the first time. Now, Coach Collins is old school, man. Like, everything's yes, sir, no, sir. I've never heard him cuss. He's a military guy, but he really taught me how to show up every day, outwork everybody. Doesn't matter who's in that other dugout. You got a chance to beat their butt. Because they put their pants on just like you do, and he always led by example, but it was really cool. There's a picture of him sitting down by the third base dugout and watching me coach the third base in the third base box. I'm kind of tearing up thinking about it.
That's so
but that was pretty cool because of the impact that he had on me. And
I bet you that impact is not, and that impact I can bet you is not simply just because he was a great coach, like a great baseball coach. But he knew you, and he got in your corner during, and what people need to hear is, like, some of the greatest coaches and leaders in your life is not just the technical skills that you can give them, but it's like that human side that you're connecting to them and understanding who you were in that moment. That's what brings the tears. Like, it's showing up every day.
That's it. And that's what Coach Collins did every single day. The dude showed up every single day. We worked on the field. He kept a really high standard for everybody, but he led by example. And I've always said the best coaches aren't the best X's and O's guys. They're the more motivational, and they're the best storytellers. They're ones that can get their players motivated to do the things that they don't want to do. And I think it's the same way in business, in leadership.
Yeah.
It's all about getting the people that are on your team motivated to go, not just do the things they want to do, but to get through the things that aren't the fun. We call it the mess, to get through the mess with good energy and good vibes. And it's all about that relationship. And Coach Collins was there from day one.
That's cool. And you have this.
Let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a story about Coach Collins one time.
Okay, cool.
All right. I wasn't the best math student, Ryan. I wasn't great at geometry, okay? And I didn't really care that much. I just wanted to dogpile and win championships. So my junior year, I was struggling in geometry. I had a D, and Coach Collins was like, hey, I know you got a test coming up. I want you to study for it. I want you to go take that test, and as soon as the test is over, I want to know what you made on it. Yes, sir, I got you. And so one of our teammates tutored me. I got through this test. I think I made a B on it. But anyway, I go take this test, and the test was like early that morning at 10 a.m. All right. This test grade depended on me either playing the next week or not playing the next week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if I made a bad grade on it, I wasn't eligible to play. So Coach Collins, I go to his class at noon. Okay. So I took the test at 10. I go to Coach Collins's class at 1, and I walk in. He goes, hey, did you get your grade yet? And I go, nah, I don't know what I made on it yet. And he goes, all right. He goes, okay. He goes, can you go over there and ask, says the teacher's name, if they could grade the test real quick. I want to know what you made so we can solve whatever we need to solve. And I go, yes, sir. So I go over there, and I'm like, Mr. So-and-so, do you mind if, did you grade my paper yet? And he goes, no, I haven't got to it yet. I haven't graded it yet. And I go, okay, no problem. Coach Collins wanted me to ask to figure out what that grade was. And he was like, well, you know what? You tell Coach Collins if he wants to come teach my class, then I'll grade your paper. And I was like, all right, I'll go tell him that. I don't think you're going to like the results, but I'll go tell him. So I go over and I tell Coach Collins, I show up to baseball. It's at 2:15. He goes, Gillum, come in here. And I go, yeah. And he goes, did you get that? What'd you make on that test? And I go, well, I talked to so-and-so, and he said that if you wanted to come teach his class, that he would grade your paper. And there was a black, small plastic trash can next to Coach Collins's desk. And he punts this trash can against the wall. And he goes, Gillum, get in the truck. We're going to see him. And we go down to the school, and he's in the middle of teaching another math class. And Coach Collins knocks on the door, and he kind of cracks it. And Coach Collins opens the door and goes, hey, I need to talk to you. Come out here. And Coach Collins rips him for 10 minutes. And I'm standing around the corner. He doesn't know I'm there. And I don't know. I just gained so much respect from Coach Collins because he was always in my corner trying to make me better and always looking out for me. And that was just one scenario that had nothing to do about baseball,
Yeah, exactly.
But he was caring for me and looking out for me. And I ended up getting a B on the test or whatever. And so everything was
because
good.
The teacher was freaked out that he was going to get his butt kicked by him, right?
Probably so, yeah.
That's so good. You saw him advocate for you. And the importance behind showing up and not just talking it, but he's like, get in the truck. We're going to make it happen.
That's it.
Yeah, that's so good.
I'll never forget him punting that trash can.
Oh, I know. And your heart racing. You're like, oh, dude, I'd much rather him be pissed at this teacher than me, though, right? Because you always got a little fear, right? You always got a little fear when you have a deep respect and love for someone. There's always a little bit of oh, he's going to go crazy. We better be ready.
Yeah. Coach Collins was our other dad kind of, so we all had respect of man, you don't want to let your dad down on the field. Anytime we lost a game or anything, it was always anything that didn't go wrong and you lost, Coach Collins kind of was disappointed. You're man, you felt absolutely terrible. But, I don't think every coach has that way about them. And he had that special touch of having players care that much, man. They're
so good.
There's so many stories of all the players that he impacted. So if I can be half the coach that he is, then I'll be doing pretty good.
So good, man. Hey, fellow purpose-driven leaders, if you're loving what you're hearing, we need your help to keep spreading inspiration so others can unleash their purpose too. If you're finding value in our discussions about purpose, entrepreneurship, faith, and family, here's how you can support us. First off, hit that subscribe button right now to make sure you never miss an episode. By subscribing, you'll get notified every time we release a new podcast packed with wisdom and encouragement. Next, take a moment to share this episode with your friends, family, and followers. Whether it's a text message, a post, or a shout out, your recommendation helps us reach more people who are seeking inspiration on their journey. And finally, if you've been enjoying our podcast, we'd be incredibly grateful if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews not only motivate us to keep creating great content, but they also help others discover our show and join our purpose-driven community. So let's keep the momentum going. Subscribe, share, and review the Unleash Your Purpose podcast today, and together, let's make a positive impact on the world, one listener at a time. Now let's dive back into today's episode. What I loved about your story, even years of being a friend, like you always had you're really dialed in with your vision for your life, which I think is kind of unique. Like you were okay, you knew you wanted to be a coach, but beyond that, you wanted to have impact. And that was like you had this you had this number in your head of 1 million, and it kind of has transcended your life and helped keep you kind of focused. One, like what is that? And number two is how was that in you that you kind of knew you wanted to create like this vision and picture? Because most people our age like are just kind of floating through life. They're not like super dialed in like you are in this way.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I've always had set big goals and had big dreams. Like when I was little, I knew at 10 years old I wanted to win 4 state championships in high school, and then we made it happen. When I was a sophomore in high school, I knew I wanted to be a head coach or just to be a coach. When I was a junior, I knew I wanted to go to Seminole State Junior College because that was the hardest working junior college in the country. It was basically like boot camp for baseball.
Yeah.
But they won more than anybody else in the country. They were the winningest junior college in the country at that time. And so I figured out how to go there, and I made that happen. And then I wanted to go to East Central, where I ended up because they had a master's of education degree. And so I knew I could jump onto the coaching staff and get my grad assistant. They had a grad assistant position, which, I didn't have any money. So like I had to figure out how to pay for my master's so I could coach at the same time at East Central, and they would pay for my master's degree. So I had that vision when I was at Seminole is if I go to East Central, at the end of me playing, I can jump onto the coaching staff and I can get my master's degree paid for, which will open up doors to teach in college while I'm figuring out how to coach college baseball. And so I did that. And then when I finished up at East Central, I coached there for 2 years, and they didn't have a full-time paid assistant. And so I was having to basically get thrusted out and go, hey, you got to go coach somewhere else. You got to figure this thing out. So at that time, at 23 years old, I said, my goal is to be the best baseball coach I can possibly be. So at that time, I thought the goal was to become a Division I baseball player or a Division I baseball coach. And so I said, okay, how can I get there? And so the 3 things I came up with were learn, grow, and network. I need to get into an environment that's going to allow me to learn more, to grow through experience, and then to network, because everything's about networking.
Yes,
I've got this saying that's called, it's not about what you know. And so a lot of people say it's not about what you know, it's who you know, but it's not that either. It's who knows you. Because if nobody knows Ryan, then they're not going to give you an opportunity. So even though you might know whoever, if they don't know who you are, it's not going to matter. And so
that's good.
My thought was like, how can I get to Phoenix, Arizona? Because I think that's the best place to learn, grow, network. They have half the spring training complexes. It's a really good junior college conference. And then every Division I school in the country recruits Phoenix, Arizona. And so that's going to allow me to network more with more coaches. And so I found a way to get that done in 2011 and moved to Phoenix.
Yeah, that's right. And that's how kind of we intersected, because you started working at that. 100 applications to all these different colleges, just start cold calling people, emailing people to just get your foot in the door and just start networking. How did you get a lot of no's?
So I knew I wanted to be in Phoenix, Arizona, but I didn't know if there was any coaching jobs open. So I sent emails to every coach in the Valley and said, hey, I am coming to Phoenix, Arizona. Would love to interview for a spot. I'm going to drive out in 2 weeks. So if you have a spot open, please, I'd love to interview, kind of type of deal. So 2 weeks later, I drove 17 hours straight from Ada, Oklahoma, Red Bulls and, Snickers and a lot of sunflower seeds on the way.
Yep.
And got there, interviewed with 3 coaches. Coach Todd Easton, who's at South Mountain, ended up offering me a position. It was legit. He said, hey, I have no money. I have a volunteer position for you. You can coach with us. And I said, perfect. I'll figure out how to make money. And 2 weeks later, he called me and said, hey, I've got a field maintenance job open. You can work on field maintenance at the school, mowing the fields and, cutting grass basically in the mornings. And then you can coach in the afternoon. So I said, perfect. I love to do that. I love to work on field. So I had a master's degree and I took that job for $9 an hour with no benefits and moved across the country to chase a coaching dream.
Dude. And that is the most beautiful part of that story. Like, you're willing to do whatever it takes to be able to move that for $9 an hour. Like, and I don't want to get on a rant about I feel like I'm old now. I'm like, oh, these young people these days. But but so often we're like, there is kind of this complex that we need to be like, you had to put it in your reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to build up that rep. You got to get the reps in order to be able to make get a name for yourself, to be recognized. And so often they already want the accolades before they get any of the reps in.
Yeah, no doubt. None of us get dropped on top of that mountain, right? We got to climb that mountain, right? And so, and then there's usually a lot of peaks and valleys. And then a quote I used the other day with our banana ball team was, at the top of the mountain, there's more mountains. And that's just more goals as you get older, right? And
That's so good.
You're the perfect example of that, Ryan, is like you start one business or you foster one child and then you do more and then you do more and then you do more. There's more mountains.
There's more
at the top of that peak of that mountain that you just reached.
And I think you build up maybe some calluses in a good way and just experience that you're like, when you see the next mountain, it's not like, for some at the beginning, it seems so scary. But then as time goes on, as you conquer one, it's kind of like a high, like you're getting in shape. You're like, oh, all right, I see the next one. We got through this one. I can go to the next one. And it's kind of actually it's just the excitement of it. It's the journey of the hike that becomes more of it's not necessarily getting just to the top. Because the top,
it's leveling up.
Yeah, 100%.
It's leveling up. I think me and you got a lot in common. Is like we probably get bored once you do it and you're successful at it. You're like, cool. All right, what's the next thing?
Exactly.
And we look at banana ball. Our banana ball games are a lot like that. We say often, if we're ever getting bored over any of the entertainment that we're doing, then we need to change something. And that's why we do 15 to 20 new things every banana ball game. And a lot through that, you learn a lot, and that entrepreneurship of like, hey, you got to test it and learn, test it and learn. And we're not scared to do that with the bananas. We test a lot of things. Some of them do not work. Some of them are terrible, but we maybe edit it and then tweak it and then make it a little bit better. And that's what we call plussing. So every day we're trying to figure out how to plus what we're doing. And I think everybody's trying to do that inside their business, is like, okay, here's where my business at. Yes, it's probably somewhat successful, but how do we plus the customer service or the experience or the quality of whatever we're trying to sell, And, I think that's important makes us who we are, is we're always trying to plus.
What's the craziest thing that you had to do for the entertainment's sake?
Well, I mean, the first thing that ever got, when me and Jesse first got on a phone call, Jesse Cole, our owner, he was wearing his yellow tux. He just started wearing his yellow tux every single day. And we were on a Zoom call and he said, whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. And we're trying to create the greatest show in sports. And that was 2018 when he told me that. And I said, cool. My life goal is to develop and dogpile, and I want to have a positive impact on 1 million people through baseball education and exercise. And we basically said, can we marry these two things together? And at that time, Banana Ball was not created yet. We were just a summer collegiate baseball team. And so with what Jesse, his vision was to do all these things were outside of the box, right? And I got a phone call in February of 2018. He said, hey, Gillum, I got a crazy idea. I said, sweet, let me hear it. He said, what do you think about playing in kilts? And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I said, we'll try it. We'll try it, but let me put on a kilt. Let me practice in it. Let me, work out in it, pitch in it, hit in it. Because if guys can't compete in it, then they're not going to be bought into it. So he sent me a kilt. I practiced in it. Everything was all good. It's actually more comfortable. I actually had a coach tell me one time, it's not that big of a deal to play in kilts. I mean, they fought wars in the past in kilts, right?
That's
and I'm
true.
like, yeah, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that was like the first crazy idea that I was introduced to. And we won that first game in kilts against the Macon Bacon, our rival back in the day in the CPL. And that was pretty cool. But dude, we've done so many crazy things.
It's not staged. These are actual games. And you're actually competing in kilts.
Absolutely. So when we were a summer collegiate team, we were playing in kilts.
Yeah.
We were playing real baseball games for a league championship. And actually dating back to 2018, we're 8-1 in kilts. So we're pretty good when we wear kilts.
Yeah. It's a lot more freedom.
So
it's a lot more. You're a lot more agile. I can't imagine sliding though in a kilt. That thing rides up, man. You're screwed.
Well, exactly. So that was my one thing when I told Jesse, I was like, hey, I don't want to get any of the guys injured. So we bought guys sliding pants and the, like the tights that you wear underneath shorts or whatever. And so,
that helps.
And they had long socks on too. So we kept them safe in that way. But they're fun playing in kilts.
And the guy who is on stilts and he hits that's got to be kind of rehearsed. I mean, that's not a quick thing. That takes a while to master that.
Well, so he played baseball growing up, and then he got on stilts, and then we just started practicing every day in stilts. So it's just like anything else. It's a skill. And, dude, he hit a ball off the wall the other day. You can't script that.
No, you cannot.
It's a ball that's thrown 90 miles an hour, and a guy has to hit it square up a round ball with a round bat, the hardest thing to do in sports.
Yep.
And then you got to get it past the infielders and the outfielders, and he actually one-hopped the wall the other day, which is wild.
That's so
but he
good.
Also pitches too.
Yeah, I saw it.
And
he
hasn't given up a hit. He hasn't given up a hit in his last 10 appearances.
Wow.
So, there's something to be said about that. We do a lot of entertainment, and we script out a lot of the celebrations.
Yes.
So, when we score a run or we get a hit or something like that. But the mano-a-mano baseball play, all of that's real. It's hard to script home runs and, trick plays. We've done, our record is 19 trick plays in a game right now. And, one of our trick plays is our center fielder can do a backflip catch on a routine ball. And so it's pretty fun, man.
No wonder my kids are still dreaming about it, man. Every single person in that audience has a grin on their face watching it. And I'm just glad I got in now, because the next time you come to town, you're going to have probably a 6-month wait list for this thing.
Dude, I tell you what, there's 2 million people on the wait list right now to get tickets. This tour, we're going to have 1 million fans on tour total. We're playing in 6 major league stadiums. We'll play in 30 different cities. And then we'll finish the tour going on a Banana Land cruise at sea, where we'll load a cruise ship with 3,000 Banana fans in Miami and go to the Bahamas for 4 or 5 days. Oh. So we're going to turn a cruise ship yellow. So that'll be pretty cool.
Well, I'm there. I hate cruises, but I'll do that.
We'll get you that all inclusive.
Yeah,
you get you
our style.
Those ways.
Our style. I think I travel as much as you do. Man, you're always on the road. I'm just trying to keep up.
You guys travel all the time.
Oh.
Dude, I'll tell you what, one of the coolest things that we've done though, and you talked about people being happy and seeing everybody smiling at the games. And we went to Vegas last year. Mm-hmm. We played the Party Animals, and the Party Animals theme fits perfect with Vegas.
Yeah.
And there was a lady there, and she was watching the game, and she has been on Broadway, and she's done like a bunch of like the Broadway shows, like The Lion King and like Hamilton and all, all these different shows. And she's been in Vegas for 20 years. And she watched our game, and after the game, she said, I've lived here my entire life. I've been to every single show, and this is the best show that I've ever seen in Vegas. And my mind was blown after that. And she said the reason why is because she said she sat there and she watched grown men sing and dance that don't sing and dance. She watched people sing and laugh that they might have been going through something. She watched families of every different race, ethnicity. Mm-hmm. They were all felt like they were a part of something, that was way bigger than themselves. And like everybody was happy. And she said, I think you guys created lightning in a bottle because people are walking through these gates and they're saying, this is the most fun time I've ever had. And you guys have changed my life. And man, I almost started crying when she told us that. I was blown away though, but by her saying I've lived like she life, and it's the best show.
Yeah, I think she's hitting on like such a impactful thing is like you are creating these moments in time for people to have true experiences of emotion. And I always tell our staff like, hey, cheese is in, like as cheesy as possible. Everybody takes everything so serious. Everyone's so nervous. Like if you can be ridiculous, everyone wants to. So when you can do like when we do with our kids and our staff, as they're doing talent shows and dressing up and being total idiots, and I'll be in a tutu doing those little dances. Literally at the event or at the game, we were taking notes of all of your skits. We're like, I'm gonna copy this one, because cheese is in. People love it. And I think so often people are missing that and they take themselves way too seriously. And that is the lightning in the bottle for sure.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, man. I love the cheese. I love how you say that. It's like, we're not scared to, do things that are outside of the box. And like, we take what we do very serious, but we don't take ourselves too serious. And I think that's the key.
Oh yeah. When I have to do my rehearsal for my beach ball ballet and my tutu, dude, I don't just wing that. That beauty, that takes practice. You know, right. I've been sweating in the garage for the last 2 hours with my buddy to make sure that it's as flawless as you come underneath the spin move, and as you go underneath my legs, it looks like we are professionals. You can't look this good and not practice. Yeah.
I've got to send you the TikTok of me and Adam Byron, our other Bananas coach. We're dressed up in the Bananas onesie.
Yeah.
And we did a TikTok of, we put together this whole dance and we're doing like pirouettes and everything. Please. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. But I'm envisioning you and us doing the same thing.
Please.
Yes.
That would be a gift to my soul if we can make that happen. Two questions before we're out of time. The first one is you've had a lot on a serious note. You have a family history of addiction, right? Yep. And how did that impact and that story impact like your life and kind of your direction as you are now kind of at this next level that you probably never imagined yourself being at?
Yeah, sure. So like, my family struggled with addiction their entire lives. Alcohol, drugs. My dad's had 5 DUIs. My mom passed away in 2018 of an Oxycontin overdose. And my youngest brother has been in and out of jail. He was in prison for 4 years. Some of that had to do with drugs. Cousins, best friends, family members, just in and out. And so like I needed something to get away I don't know. I think the Gillum family is very addicted minded in a lot of ways, where my grandma is very addicted to the church and being a pastor and helping people find the love of God and Jesus. And my grandpa followed along those same lines, but he was into business. Like he was he owned a grocery store. He owned realty for a long time. He owned a car dealership, and he literally for 60 years of his life would wake up every single morning at 4:30, go to work all day, help people be selfless, come home. And like, he was addicted to that of just like the journey, the process, right? And I felt like, my dad struggled a lot with not finding that, and kind of found, drugs and alcohol along the way. And that was tough, in some ways. And like, for me, I just found baseball, and baseball was my getaway. Baseball was my cathedral to that. And, I've seen a lot of players go through those addictions, and there's people all over the world that, dude, all of our family members, there seems like every one of us have some family member that struggle with addiction, right? So it's not something that we necessarily have to hide or be ashamed about. It's like something real, and we need to talk about it more. And, one thing I think that's helped me not follow that path of drugs and alcohol and have those struggles is my big vision goals. I call them telescope goals and microscope goals. And your telescope goal is your big vision goal that you're chasing every day, and that's your why. And your microscope goal is your day-to-day Zoom habit. So that's when you wake up every day. From when you wake up till you go to sleep, map out your day and see if you can execute that day towards your big vision goal. And I've been doing that for a long time, and it's just been doing things that I love to do every day. And along that way, baseball has always been my getaway away from those
things. And you probably have like the fact that you had these coaches around you. Like it's not just a luck thing, and it's just like you had these coaches around you. You kind of had a mindset. Like I have our family equally has this long path of addiction similar to you, and some people have gotten the drug part. Mine is success, and that is I'm like trying to strip that away, because I'll never not be driven. You don't have to tell me not to make a goal. I make 20 goals a year, and if I don't hit 18 of them, then I'm a failure. So learning to like be able to be content, and because I'm always striving for that big vision goal, but then learning to giving myself a little bit of grace with those microscopic goals, or that I like the way you said that. That's really good. And
it's being able to celebrate, I think that's it, man. That's tough. I struggle with it too. Our owner, Jesse Cole, struggles with it a little bit too. Like I've learned a lot from him of learning to celebrate those moments. I think that's the tough thing. We go, but we forget like, hey, we're doing some pretty cool stuff too along the way. And you got to remember to celebrate those.
So you have this, so last question actually is like, you have this why, you have this big vision. You're married, you have a son, and another one on the way, right?
No. We're one and done.
One and done? Okay. I got a couple that you can borrow.
That's right, baby. We can do it.
What do you like? What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your son to remember about his dad?
So I set that goal in 2017 to have a positive impact on 1 million people. And, right now we've created some shirts that say bet on yourself. And on the back of those shirts is a serial number of, every single shirt is unique. And so right now we're on like 567 out of 1 million. Right. And like every shirt, all the proceeds go to buying baseball gloves to give away to the next generation of baseball players. Cool. And the players that I'm giving those away to in each city that we attend, these kids have like been through something, they've had some type of adversity that they've had to overcome, but they're great teammates. They're hard workers. And what I would love for like Camden, my son, to remember me for is just the ability to, impact the next generation of people and like be a hard worker, show up every single day and go to work and not be scared of anything and set big goals. I want him to achieve everything that he can. And I think kids, they don't listen to much of what we say, but they definitely watch everything we do. And so if I can, wake up every day, work my butt off and show him what, being selfless and serving others looks like, right. I think that's a win. And that's really what I just want to be remembered for is, impacting the next generation of people to, impact the next generation of people.
It's like this legacy that you're continuing to, and you want your son to be standing on your shoulders to the next thing.
Right.
And honestly, your million number of like people that you want to impact is so salient and like palpable for people. And if people could dial in to to their self and become self-aware to the vision that they have. I think like if your son can do that and is watching his dad do that, man, like he's got his ceiling is pretty high. So you should be proud, man.
I tell you what, so a lot of people have asked, Ryan, is like, why did you set that goal? How did you set that goal? And like, how have you stuck with that? And really the story is I was teaching the Healthful Living class at South Mountain. It's one of my favorite classes that I taught. And I watched a video, and in this video it said, you should set goals that scare the hell out of
That's
you.
Right.
And at that time, like I had big goals, but none that scared the hell out of me. Right. Along that way, I listened to a podcast called Entree Leadership. It's Dave Ramsey's podcast. Yeah. And this is 2016. And there was an entrepreneur that came on and said his goal in his life was to make $1 million, right? And he goes, until I change my goal to have a positive impact on 1 million people, I never reached $1 million. So for me, I don't care about money. Money's not a thing for me. I just want to go to the baseball field every day and like impact kids and players. And so, but I connected with that of like, hey, just figure out how you can impact the next person, right? And later on that year, I had a coach tell me, if you figure out how to get everybody else what they want, eventually you'll get what you want. So focus on the player getting him to Division I, or focus on the player helping him get to the major leagues, or starting his business, or, figuring out how to start a family, or, anything of that nature. So just figure out how to help everybody out, and eventually that good karma will come around and it'll help you out. And so 2017, I wrote that goal on my whiteboard in my office. I've looked at it every single day. And it's literally been my North Star since then. And everybody said, you're crazy as hell. How the hell are you ever going to do that? And I would always say, I don't know how I will be able to, I don't know how it's going to show up when I reach 1 million people. I literally don't know, but I know at some point something will happen and it'll say, hey, it got done. And this year when we announced the tour and we said how many cities we're going to and how many games we're going to, and then we announced, hey, we are going to have 1 million fans on the Banana Ball World Tour. That was kind of that ding, there it is. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
So now, this kind of like this thread that you have of like your coach impacted you, and now you impacted all these people, and now imagine all these young players that you were impacting their lives, and they're going to be so different. And that is the multiplication that you're heading towards. And you have such a long-term view of life that if more of us had that, man, our world will be a different place. You're thinking generationally, you're thinking legacy, you're thinking beyond just today. And that changes lives, and that changes the world. So,
well, you're doing the same thing, man. I appreciate everything you're doing and impacting that foster care system, man. Goodness. You guys, when we created Bananas Foster, I told Emily Cole, I said, Ryan and his family are the best for this.
Oh, my goodness, man. You guys put smiles on my kids' faces. I'm so indebted to your guys' program, and you have lifelong fans for sure, man.
Heck yeah, brother. Well, I appreciate you, man. Love you.
I love you. All right, friends, make sure you subscribe. Check out my man. Check out Savannah Bananas. Where do they find you, Tyler? Instagram, TikTok?
At Gillum66 is my handle. Our Bananas website is thesavannahbananas.com, and just YouTube the Bananas. You'll run into something cool.
Yes, you will. They got more followers than all MLB teams, right?
That's right, baby. We do.
All right, guys. Until next week, may you unleash your purpose. You can profit in business.
Thanks for joining us for the Unleash Your Purpose podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next week.